Hi, welcome to Burkland Gardens. It's Gil, and today we're going to be walking around the property and collecting some scion wood, and then doing some grafting, and I'll show you how we cut off last year's understock as well. So I hope you enjoy the video. I think it's March 10th today. Sunny day. It froze last night, but we're glad to get the sunshine, this time of year. So also it's a very good day because today I got my COVID shot, so my first one. So in front of me today is a Korean fir, Abies Coriana, with the cultivar name Flying Saucer. So you can see it's low and spreading. Other ones like Icebreaker is a really popular cultivar these days. So this one's pretty new to me, so I grafted a few, and I'm going to graft a few more. We're getting right at the end of grafting season. So what I'm looking for here is multiple buds on a branch, on the terminal buds, and I'm going to usually look for 1 year growth. This is a nice one right here. I'm going to go ahead and take this whole branch off, and I can clip this off later, but I can also go back and graft 2-year-old wood on smaller trees like this, which I do sometimes. So I'm going to collect that. In addition to that, I have a label that I'll put in with it so I don't forget, which I do often, and then everything will get labeled when we're grafting them as well. So there's the label in the bag, and we're going to collect a few others as well off this plant and a couple other plants too. So in front of me now I have a golden spreader, Abies Nordmania, and it's probably 15 plus years old. It's one of my very favorite plants because the new growth will come out kind of a soft green, lime green, and then it'll turn golden pretty quickly, and then in the winter it's very intense, so it's mostly gold year round. So it typically grows an inch or 2 or 3 a year. When they get a little bit older, they'll start putting on some longer growth. And then one thing I've talked about before, but they'll put out a central leader at some point because it is a flat growing plant. But at some point, at about 15 years or so, they'll put out a leader. Now you can do one of two things. You can cut it out and just keep the plant growing flat, or you can let this go and just become a little bit of a low layered plant, and that's actually the way I like it, but it's just a matter of choice. You can leave them either way. So I'm going to collect a little bit of scion wood, and one thing, you don't want to get too strong of wood, meaning too thick, too aggressive. It can actually change how the plant you graft is going to turn out, maybe just not as dwarf as you want. So I'm looking for multiple buds, at least 2, and 3 or 4 are great, and the first tend to have lots of buds usually, so that's usually not a problem. So I'll clip a couple off here. This one here got 3 or 4 buds right there. This one's a nice one. This one here, I'm going to take one of those. So I have my label ready and my bag. I'm going to put plants in there. The scion wood can be stored for quite a long time if it's refrigerated, not frozen though. Got my golden spreader tag, goes in there so I don't mix up. And but you want a little moisture in a baggie like this and in a refrigerator, but don't let it freeze. So you can keep it quite a long time. I just had some scion wood shipped to me from back in the upper Midwest, and it took over a week to get here, and it looked really good when I got it. So I just grafted that the other day. This is another one we're going to graft. It's an Abies procera, which is a noble fir, has a name Bizarro. So it has that nice powder blue color, a lot like Blau Hex and a few other Prostrata, I think, has that, and then several others have this really nice powder blue color. So I've taken some nice scion wood off of it. It's just one where the growth habit is dwarf, 3 or 4 inches or 2 inches a year, and then the branches just take off different directions. So it's probably a 20-year-old plant sitting right here in front of me. This one we're going to plant in our own landscape here, and it's going to be propagating over the next couple of years. So at home I have some quite large icebreakers, and I usually take scion wood off of that, but these are nice plants, grafted on a standard, so they're up high, and which they these miniatures and small dwarfs look nice that way. So I should be able to get some nice scion wood off of these icebreakers. I use, typically for taking the scion wood, I'm just cutting thin material. I'll use these little just kind of nippers, pointed things, and they're fairly inexpensive. Or sometimes I'm going to be using these in a few minutes and later on in the video, and they're bonsai tools, side cutters, so they work really well because we're going to be taking off some understock and showing you what that's like on last year's grafts. Actually, we can do it right here in a minute. So sometimes it's hard to see the buds, but actually there is one right there. There. And I graft quite a few icebreakers, Blau Hex. I graft the plants I like, and other people seem to like them, and they do sell. So there's another one with nice buds on it. So here's a branch. I'm going to graft this one on 2-year-old wood, and then you can see the buds down here. There's 3 buds on that one, and there's 3 buds on that one. So that'll have some nice growth on it. So that'll make a nice plant someday. I'm holding a piece of understock, probably at least 2 years old. I was able to get some Nordman Fur from a grower, Jason Hupp, that's in Oregon. He had some leftover, and I was going to Oregon anyway, so I picked it up. I prepared the understock. I've warmed it up a little bit. It's got, roots are growing. It's got white roots underneath here, and I showed that in another video. Cleaned up the needles at the bottom, clipped any branches that were down here, even shortened up some of these branches, because these branches and needles can actually shade out your new grafts. So and when plants get shaded out, they die. So just like the inside of trees that you have in your garden. So I've just started. I've got my grafting knife here. I've started my cut. I want it started as flat as I can, bring it flat, and then bring it on down, and make about a 1-inch cut. And then I'm gonna set that aside. We just cut scion wood out in the garden, and I'm gonna start with this Nordman Fur. It's going to take me a second here, because what you have to do with that too is take the needles off, and you just gently, kind of gently, depending on how hard easily they want to come off, pull the needles off of the stem of the branch. Sometimes they're a little persistent, but just clean that up. So your hands can get, depending on the particular plant and how warm it is, how much sap is flowing, they can be pretty messy. You can get really sticky hands, and it builds up on your knife as well. So also a way of cleaning it, also for disinfecting purposes, a little bit of alcohol, and I am just going to wipe that off right there. I'm using a cork board, and I've actually found out from another YouTuber that he uses it and says that it has antiseptic properties, and you're just worried about some bacteria and funguses and things like that. So I like to lay mine on the ground. A lot of grafters, and I do this sometimes depending on the stem, hold it like this, but I find for me it's just a little bit easier. I want to start my graft flat again, a little bit of an angle down towards the end, and then on the back side I do it the same way. Start nice slice, pull it to, and then either clean this end up. When it comes to a nice point like that, it fits really nicely. Sometimes the thicker branches, they you end up with a little bit of a wider area down there. So I just trim that off at a little bit of an angle. And then I'm going to take the understock, the scion wood. This is going to be the back. I'm going to fit this in, looking to align the cambium layers on one side. Almost never can you do it on two sides. So I am gonna, we just change tables here a little bit. I'm gonna have to go grab a rubber band. I'm gonna trim a little bit off of this. Okay. It fits right down there. It'll even stay right there. That fits nicely. Grab that and you kind of press with your thumb and on the top of it, and your fingers are on the back. Grab the rubber strip, and I like these nice long ones, and just I start at the top and start wrapping. Get it wrapped around, double check, make sure nothing's slid. You can do a little bit of adjustment there. You want it fairly tight, not overly tight, but I keep quite a bit of tension on it. And then overlap the band as you go down the, oops. These bands can be a little slippery sometimes too. So then when I'm near the bottom where I want to tie it off, I wrap it around my finger, pull it around, grab it with my thumb and my first finger, pull it through. If you're able to, you can leave a little bit there that makes it easier to take off later on when you're ready to take it off. These bands will deteriorate usually within a year. The sunlight just deteriorates that. And then we have some wax melting. It may not be quite ready yet, but I'm going to do another one or two for you here while we're waiting for that the wax to melt. Okay. So our next one is going to be, we'll go ahead and do flying saucer. I'm going to do this one on older wood, second year. So we're out in the potting shed, all the dirt, the needles. I do have a nice pellet stove out here that Travis installed for me, so that keeps me warm when the days are cold. So I stripped the needles off there. I am going to use a trick I just picked up. Actually took a Zoom class. It was Tim back in, I think it's Coldwater Pond, I'll have to double check on that, and back in New York, and he's been grafting for years. I've only been grafting for 3 years, so even though I know quite a bit, there's still a lot that I can learn. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and do what I did before. I just like to lay it flat on the board, make my my cut. So going to the back side of this scion wood, make our second cut. I think that's going to be okay. I'm going to even that out. Remember, flat on the understock. The reason is you just don't want to dig in and create this area, and it's hard to get contact between your cambium layers. So contact is the big thing. So I'm going to get down. People are interested in grafting, and they would love to try it themselves. And the only way you could probably do it, unless you just want to go out and spend a lot and then try to learn, and that's the way I've done in my retirement years, is but I do have made a little business out of it. So, but just for the hobbyist is really difficult. I just had a call as we were speaking, actually, we had to had to stop video, and it was from a collector that was looking for a particular plant. He was talking how friends of his are having a hard time finding understock, and so it's in a very short supply. So we are, so just to reiterate the make sure that lines up good, it looks good. If you could attend, if someone was willing to teach a class, and we may do that at some point, where you could come in, there's understock provided, there's scion wood provided, all these other necessary things like the bands, all little small things, but then there's also bigger things. A knife, a good grafting knife, which you really do want. You could use a razor if you want to, but it doesn't work very well. It costs $50, so right away your costs are quite a bit. And then there's a good amount of aftercare, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes too. So there's that was Flying Saucer. Yeah. We're going to seal up the top of these grafts now. There are some grafters, propagators that don't do this step, but most do, and so it doesn't. I think it's probably, for me, it's just an extra step. You just don't want water getting into the top of the graft right here, and then it would cause that graft union to fail. So I'm going to do both sides, try to get a little bit in there, and because there's going to be moisture here for a while. So this material, there's a couple different. There's some actually grafter's wax that you can buy, and then there's an artificial wax. And I wanted to buy some this year, but it comes in gallon size and has to be shipped. It will last me more than I ever would. Literally, this is left over from last year. I bought a couple more pint sizes, and this is lasting me, just fine. This is just a little wax thing that people, I don't know, it's more of a cosmetic type thing, but it melts the wax, and there's different devices. So we'll go ahead and finish this one here up. I just use a paintbrush to dab a little bit on. You just want to dab a little bit on each side and try to get a little bit in the center. A lot of times these are closed up so tight that you can't get it exact in the center, but it keeps most of the moisture out. So pretty much the last step until we go to put it in this little plastic chamber. Next, we're going to step away and step outside and go into the greenhouse and look at aftercare, and I'll show you what we have, and then we'll also talk about how after the first year what I do with the understock, because we're starting to take that off now. So let's head out to the greenhouse. Here are some grafts that I've done over the last couple months. They're in these clear plastic bags. Larger growers, they will create an area and tent it up, but this works well for me. I'm doing 4, 5, 6, 700 grafts a year, and so this is a perfect way. You can see on this particular bag it's closed up. I just tie it at the top. It doesn't have to be super tight, but you do want to create somewhat airtight, and then you can see the moisture collects at the top, and then that keeps the graft union down there where the rubber band is moist, and that's what we're looking for. We don't want that to dry out. If it does, it won't callus over, and those two cambium layers won't knit together. So next we're going to step over and show you, take a few understock off of some of last year's plants. So these are a group of furs. We were working on furs earlier, so this is furs that I grafted last year. You can see some golden spreaders. There's one there, another one here. I've taken that understock off actually yesterday, and you can see some blau hex on the other side. We'll get a shot of that. Here's a Another fur that I really like, it's Rick's foxtail. A very slow growing. I was surprised to see when they get older they grow very straight, but the ones I have in my garden have a little bit of a windswept look to them. So the small needles, congested, really a nice plant. So I've got my side cutters, bonsai style. These buds are going to start pushing ever so soon, and then it's going to start growing. I think it's just fine. I'm going to take these side cutters and I'm going to put them right down there, and I want to cut right. Another trick I learned on a Zoom class I took, and just using these cutters, because I used to use those pointed little pruners, and this works quite well because it makes a concave cut. So put it right up against there, cut that off. It creates a concave cut there. It cuts off right at the top, and I don't leave a stub. This is what that finished product looks like. Here's a golden spreader. I'm going to go ahead and nip this understock off. Again, just like before, I'm just go right down the line. And this will all heal over, callus up. It has a nice slope to it, rather than just cutting it off straight and leaving a big stub there. Like I said, it's a trick that I just learned this year, so making that cut as close to the top of the graft union as possible. And then I'm going to grab a Blau Hex Noble Fur. About Noble Furs, they you can graft them on their own understock, Noble Fur understock, but they can create this swelled bulbous graft union, which is kind of unsightly. But the Blau Hex is a flat growing. It usually covers that up, and you're just chickens are noisy today. So we're gonna go right here. That's an easy one to see. Cut that off, and a little nip there. You can clean that up a little bit. Yeah, okay. That'll heal up nicely. Got lots of nice bud swelling, and that'll be a nice plant in a few years. It takes at least 3 years, 4, sometimes even 5, to get a plant up to this size. We've stepped outside, and I have a couple more golden spreaders that are at least 2 years old, and the understock's still on them, and that's not a problem, but definitely I want to take it off now, so we're going to clip that off. These are planted in grow bags. I've talked about grow bags. You can kind of see that right there. So it'll be a couple of years. Just going to go down, find that graft union, get my side cutters, and there's our cut. I might clean that one up a little bit more, but it's pretty good. Thanks for joining us today. This is I hope you enjoyed the grafting video, and if you have any comments, put them down below, and those will get passed along to me. If you just click that like button, that would really help us out. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do that, that would help our channel. So hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.